All right, so in this video, I want to give you a very quick demonstration of how sales reps are leveraging AI using the new AI sales training platform we built, Rep Arena, to increase their close rates. Now, a lot of closers and sales reps have issues with getting in efficient and effective practice. They're running sales calls with peers that don't feel realistic to true life scenarios, or they're relying on getting feedback from cherry pick calls from coaches or managers that really is only looking at less than 10% of their performance to determine 100% of their outcome. With Rep Arena, we have fixed that feedback loop to make sure that closers are getting the most efficient and effective practice to make sure that their results are actually increasing call after call. Now, without further ado, I want to jump in and show you exactly what you can do. So the very first thing you want to do when you jump into the software is you want to upload the actual offer you sell for. So if you sell for an online business right now, clearly the only thing you want to practice is calls for that online business. Obviously, if you're new to the remote sales world or you're looking to practice without having a current offer, you can come into the software under offers and you can pick one of our pre-built list of offers in which prospects are pre-populated here for you to go and directly sell to. Now, I'll come on to that, but of course, I want to start by showing you how to create your own offer within the software. So you can very quickly just type in the URL of the website or the business address that you actually close for, or you can type in a big description of exactly what you sell. From here, it requires a little bit of work from you just to pack out the exact offer you sell, changing the name, the description, the offer type, whether it's B2B or B2C, and the actual price point you want to sell for. So let's just call it 5,000 for now. The more you pack out the demographic, the more true to life and realistic the prospects you're going to have in AI will be, and the more realistic pushback they're going to give you. So I would encourage you to take your time to go through and pack this out, talking to the pain points, the goals, and obviously all the common objections you get. But once you pack this out and hit create, you can create a list of pre-built AI prospects that you can directly jump in and sell to. So for this situation, we'll just hit challenging, and that will go and populate within the software. So as you can see, we've got 3 pre-built prospects that you can go and sell to with a variety of different levels. So if we click to expert, you get an overview of the prospect and obviously exactly what you're selling, and you can jump in and start a full sales call, or you can skip straight to discovery or straight to objection handling, depending on which part of the call you actually want to practice and you actually want to get better at. Now, you can pretty much continue to produce an endless list of AI prospects here, which are obviously specifically built on the exact offer you sell and will be as true to life as possible. Obviously, once you run a practice session, and what you'll see at the end of this video is a full breakdown of me running a call with one of these prospects. So I'll save that for the end. But once you run one of these role play calls, you can come in and get feedback directly on it. So if we look at Holly, for example, this is a prospect I ran a call with for Rep Arena, right? And I jumped straight into discovery. Now you can see that I get delivered quite actionable feedback here of what actually needs to be done. The main thing we want to focus on, because there's no point reviewing someone's sales calls and giving them hundreds of different bits of actionable feedback. We want to focus in on what's the one major thing you actually need to improve in order to get better, and what's the one biggest needle moving activity you should work on. And in this case for me, it was maximizing emotional depth within discovery. I clearly wasn't asking emotional enough questions to dive into the root problem, right? And it gives me a very clear answer as to what I need to do in order to fix this, and actually pulling up on that pain and picking it out, right? I can continue reading here. I can go to discovery, which obviously you see I get an 8 out of 10, and it's highlighted as like, this is the thing you need to work on. And I can repitch and get kind of actionable steps on each of these sections as well. But the crazy thing about this, and one of the most actionable things, is I can go to this part of the call and I can replay this exact call. So I can go to 36 seconds in where the start of the discovery is, and I can hit replay, and that will load up the call from that exact point. So I can apply the feedback in that exact call that I just had a tough time with. In this case, I do actually close Holly, so maybe I wouldn't go and replay that exact call, but I'm able to do that with every single practice session. Now, the benefit with Rep Arena is we don't just want to deliver you feedback on all your practice sessions, right? Because practice is one thing, but when you take it onto the field and you take it into a real life sales scenario, what actually happens? So you're able to directly integrate your Fathom into Rep Arena. So whether you use Fathom, we have a direct integration, but you can also upload all of your transcripts. So under call history, You can go upload live call. You can paste the transcript of that call you just had with a real prospect, and we will give you feedback on it. So you can come in, and under a section tab here, you have live recordings. Now, here's one I uploaded from one of my sales reps, which they closed. And you can see that, again, they get feedback, right? And this is from a live sales call. So you can see that discovery is his biggest weakness, and what he needs to improve on is question quality and layering. So actually getting more depth again. And this is probably one of the biggest things sales reps need to work on. Now, this sales rep is great. Like, he has a very high close rate and he's doing really well, but still he wants to go away and look at this feedback and make sure he's applying it on every single call. So we can see here that there is a specific example in which he needs to work on. Can you describe a particularly stressful day you had recently? So it can go to that exact point, and what we can do is actually replay this exact call with AI again. So the AI will learn from everything the prospect has said within this transcript, and it will create an AI clone of that exact prospect you just had on a call and you just potentially lost the sale with. So you're able to go and replay call from 5 minutes 50, and you can jump directly in again to that point that you just lost the call. Again, you're going to see a real life scenario of a sales call with an AI prospect. At the end of this, it's obviously going to take like 20 minutes for me to close her. So obviously we want to leave that to the end. I want to give you a quick overview of the software to begin with. So the feedback here is super actionable, and you're given a scenario where you can practice with every single prospect at any given point and improve on your mistakes right away. So that is a pretty brief overview of the software itself. You obviously get data on your practice, your live practice, or your practice sessions. In this case, my close rate is very bad because I do a bunch of testing on this account. Or your live calls too, shows you how many calls you've had, your close rate, and the amount of total time you've had from those 14 calls. And you can go away and just create an endless list of offers. So let's say like I might be selling for Club Closer and Rep Arena right now, but I might want to practice a new offer. I might want to practice for selling for Alex Hormozy or Charlie Morgan. Or I can upload any offer I want off the internet, right? If I wanted to sell for, I don't know, another marketing agency, I can go away and do that. So you can practice selling in certain industries before you actually get into them. But obviously the main thing is if you're selling a specific offer, such as me with Rep Arena, that's what I actually want to practice. So let me go ahead and show you exactly how the AI bot actually functions and how lifelike they actually are. So if I go and hit Holly here, I'm then able to jump straight into a specific part of the call. I jump straight to discovery because the rapport building, you don't need to see that. Let's just jump straight into the juicy part of the call.
Yeah, things have been a bit frustrating lately with my sales performance. I feel like I'm putting in the effort, but the results aren't consistent, especially after missing that big target last month.
Okay, and when you say frustrating, like, what does that exactly look like for you?
Well, it's like I get through the pitch okay, but then when it comes to closing, especially with those high ticket deals, prospects just ghost or back out at the last minute. It leaves me second guessing my approach every time.
Yeah, I can hear that. And imagine losing a big target last month would have had an impact on you, right?
Oh, absolutely. It hit me hard. I'm usually crushing it, but that miss left me feeling like I'm not keeping up with the team. The pressure's real, especially with everyone else hitting their numbers.
Okay, for sure. So you kind of feel like you're slipping behind and everyone else is hitting their numbers, but you seem to be struggling a bit?
Yeah, exactly. It's mostly the inconsistency in my close rates that's bugging me. I can qualify prospects fine, but adapting to their personalities during the pitch, that's where I keep stumbling, and it tanks the deal.
Okay, got you. And if we just talk about your current setup with practice, like what does that actually look like right now, Holly?
It's mostly just role-playing with my junior reps when we can squeeze it in, but honestly, it's hit or miss, and feedback from my manager. It's sporadic at best, pausing briefly as if checking something on screen.
Okay. And have you still got time today? I know you seem a bit distracted.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just glancing at an email that popped up. I've got a bit more time, but let's keep this moving if we can.
Yeah, for sure. So feedback sporadic. You're doing feedback or running role plays with junior reps, so they're not at the same standard as you. And do you feel like these are actually helpful, and are you seeing an increase in kind of your performance from these?
Honestly, not really helpful. The juniors are still learning themselves, so the role plays feel off, and I don't get the real pushback I'd face with actual high ticket prospects. My performance, it's not improving. Close rates are stuck around 20%, which is frustrating as hell.
Yeah, understandable. And I guess for you, like, what have your managers said about this and your team leads? Are they looking at your calls more closely? Are you getting more feedback? Or is it still kind of that sporadic approach?
My manager's feedback is still pretty hit or miss. Last time we talked, it was mixed. Like, good energy but work on the close. No one's really diving into my calls consistently, and the team leads are too busy with their own stuff. It's leaving me flying blind half the time.
Yeah, for sure. And flying blind at the level you're at, Holly, is definitely not a good idea. So I guess for you, like outside of what we do at Rep Arena, have you looked into anything else to make sure that you are actually working on increasing your close rate? Or what is the plan moving forward and make sure that you are keeping up with these targets that, you just missed?
Yeah, I've tried a couple things, like those generic sales workshops, but they feel too cookie cutter, not tailored to my high ticket stuff, and some basic training software, but the feedback was meh, no real depth. Moving forward, I'm eyeing something more hands on with solid, consistent input to actually boost those close rates before the next quarter.
Okay, I mean, that's interesting that you have been trying, and it's good to see that you are kind of taking the approach of taking your sales skills into your own hands. I guess for you, like, why do you feel those current softwares and sales workshops you attended didn't actually work for you, right?
They were too generic, you know. The workshops had all these broad tips that didn't hit on adapting to tough prospect personalities or closing high ticket deals. And the software? Feedback was surface level, nothing actionable that actually stuck or improved my numbers. It just felt like going through the motions without real progress.
Okay, and how was that current software actually looking at your calls? Was it analyzing your calls? Did it give you a realistic training round? Or was it kind of just like plug and play?
It was more plug and play, honestly. No real analysis of my calls, just some basic scripts to read off, and the feedback was generic stuff like improve your tone. Nothing that felt like a realistic training round or actually mirrored the pushback I get from real prospects.
Yeah, no, totally. And I imagine watching YouTube videos would probably be more beneficial than just getting generic feedback like that, right?
Ha, yeah, probably. I've watched a ton of those, but it's still not the same as practicing in real scenarios with actual feedback that hits home.
And I guess for you, like, you feel like if you could practice in realistic scenarios with actual feedback that was applicable to that specific sales scenario, you feel like that would be beneficial in helping you get better?
Yeah, that would make a huge difference. I mean, if the feedback was spot on for the scenario, like how to handle a skeptical high ticket prospect, I'd actually see my close rates climb instead of staying flat.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, Holly, you're in the right place. That's exactly what we do at Rep Arena. We built an AI training ground specifically tailored to the exact offer you sell, and we can actually mimic and replicate the exact prospects you're getting on calls and losing deals with, so that you can go away and practice with them and apply the feedback we actually give you from looking at that live call, creating an AI replica, and allowing you to practice with them so you're no longer losing these deals. But we can come on to that.
That sounds intriguing. Like, if it really replicates those tough prospects I keep losing to, that could be a game changer. But walk me through how the feedback works exactly, because I've heard promises like that before, and they didn't deliver.
Okay, and just before I do go and kind of share exactly what we offer here, when you say you've heard about feedback before but they didn't offer, like, I'm a bit confused as to what you mean.
Oh, just that the other tools claimed actionable insights, but it was all vague stuff like be more engaging, without specifics on why or how to fix it in my actual pitch. You know, nothing that tied back to the real deal losing moments.
Okay, and you know how those previous tools you've looked at actually generated said feedback? Like, what was their process to make sure the feedback was actionable as opposed to just like plucking it out of thin air?
They just had some basic AI or a reviewer skim the script and spit out generic tips. No real process I could see, like analyzing the prospect's responses or my specific close attempts. It felt pulled out of thin air, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, look, Holly, we analyze every single one of your sales calls for you. So we do all the heavy lifting, and therefore we deliver the feedback from what we're actually seeing on calls. And it's trained on thousands of sales calls from over 700 sales reps at this point. So we know that the feedback we're giving is actually applicable within the high ticket sales space. And it's been trained by thousands of closers that, are actually doing the work every single day. So this isn't some generic tips and tricks. This is, hey, here's exactly what you said, why this didn't work, and here's what you should have said to increase your chances of actually closing that prospect or opening them up, depending on where you're at in the sales process with them.
Okay, that's more promising than the vague stuff I've dealt with. Being trained on real high-ticket calls from actual closers sounds solid. But how do you make sure it's not just pointing out flaws without giving me the exact words or tweaks to use in my next pitch? Like, does it simulate the full conversation and break it down turn by turn?
Yeah, exactly, Holly. Look, we analyze the entire conversation and we look at all the other previous calls you've had too. So we're not just always looking at one call in isolation. We're looking at your overall holistic kind of sales style and how well you're doing call after call, and not just picking up on one specific thing you said wrong that didn't really align with the other calls you previously had.
All right, looking at the whole picture across multiple calls makes sense. That holistic view could catch patterns I'm missing, like if I'm consistently fumbling the close on skeptical types. Still, give me an example of how that breakdown would look for something like adapting to a prospect who's stonewalling on price.
Well, it would be a case that if we saw that over multiple calls your bottleneck was always price, we would highlight that, hey, you're not addressing the price concerns quickly enough. And really, you and me both know that price objections are never the real objection, right? It either comes down to logic or emotion. We then want to make sure that you're pinpointing that in the right way. So if you haven't, we'll ask you, hey, well, you haven't actually got down to the root of the objection. Because as you and I both know, price is never the objection, right?
Yeah, spot on. Price is always masking something deeper, like trust or value doubts. But if your system spots that pattern across calls, how exactly does it guide me to dig into the real root, say with specific questions or phrases to uncover the logic or emotion without pushing too hard?
Yeah, Holly, look, I think at this stage, you're asking a hell of a lot of technical questions here. And really the best thing for us to do is actually putting you onto the tool and making sure that you're actually getting value out of it. But before we go ahead and onboard you, super curious, what is the main intention for you to actually improve your sales skills in the first place? Because we've said that you're kind of hitting this bottleneck and you're not really growing right now, but I'm curious from a personal level, what's the motivation to get better in the first place?
Fair point on the demo. I get that hands-on is probably better than more questions. Motivation-wise, it's personal. I've got ambitions to lead the team and crush those targets, but missing them lately has me stressed about falling behind or even job security. I want to build that signature close that sets me apart,
Yeah, 100%. And look, do you believe that using our software would allow you to get close to that goal of actually being able to lead a team and being able to kind of be recognized within your industry?
I think it could, yeah. If the practice and feedback really sharpen my closes like you're saying, that would definitely help me stand out and push toward leading the team. But honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around how it ties into that bigger picture for me.
And what exactly do you mean by tying into the bigger picture?
Like, how does practicing with this tool not just patch up my current calls, but actually build toward that long-term edge, say developing techniques that make me the go-to closer everyone looks up to, or even creating my own training for the team down the line?
Well, I guess you said it yourself, Holly. Right now you're flying blind. You don't really know what's going on in the majority of your calls because they're not getting reviewed. Whereas if you look at a professional athlete, they're reviewing every single part of game tape, right? Any single part of the game that they're actually playing and participating in, they want to watch it back, they want to analyze it, and they're getting expert help to make sure that they are actually improving the overall and not just looking at that 10%. So by having a clearer picture of your whole entire sales process on every single call, you're going to have a clearer picture of actually how to improve it for the long term, instead of just patching up kind of the odd mistake you make here and there with the deals you don't close.
That's a solid analogy with the athletes. Makes sense how reviewing every call like game tape could build that long-term edge, spotting patterns to refine my whole process instead of just quick fixes. It hits home because I've been that athlete without the coach, just guessing what's off.
Yeah, exactly. And guesswork is never scalable, right?
Right, exactly. I've been guessing too much, and it's not getting me where I want to be. So how does this scale up for someone like me aiming to lead and train others?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, Holly, we want to make sure that your sales skills and your sales approach is the best in the industry. And by doing that, we want to make sure that you're actually on a path where you're not just, guessworking your way through your close or, not having any clear insight on what exactly is going wrong. So the best steps from here would be to make sure that we're setting you up on the tool, we're building out your offer and what you're selling within the program. And then obviously you can go away and start refining your approach from, your very next sales call.
Setting me up sounds like the next logical step if it's going to give me that clear path forward. But before we jump in, what's the actual cost here and how does it fit into something like a monthly subscription for ongoing practice?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, Holly. For the AI practice arena and obviously the analysis and feedback on all of your live calls, it's just $99 per month.
$99 a month. That's steeper than I was expecting for a practice tool. I mean, with my budget capped at around $200 for development stuff, it eats up half right away. Does that include everything, like unlimited sessions and the full call analysis?
Yeah, that includes everything, Holly. And when you say you've got $200 set aside for development budget, like where exactly is that spending going right now?
Right now, it's split between occasional workshops and some basic online courses. Nothing that's really moving the needle on my closes though, but $99 feels like a big chunk when I'm not totally convinced it'll pay off immediately.
Okay, and what makes you feel like it wouldn't? I guess, yeah, the question is, why aren't you fully convinced yet?
I don't know, it's just, I've sunk money into similar things before and didn't see the quick wins I needed to justify it, especially with targets breathing down my neck. Feels risky to commit that much without knowing it'll actually boost my close rate right away.
Yeah, of course. And I guess for you, what confidence do you need to make sure that you will see that it will boost your close rate straight away? Because I'm sure when you went into those workshops or you did those other generic trainings, there was no guarantee on those, right?
Yeah, those other things had zero guarantees, which is why they flopped for me. To feel confident here, I'd need something like real examples from sales reps in my spot, high-ticket closers who saw their rates jump in the first month or so, not just vague promises.
Yeah, and Holly, that's exactly what we have. We have one of our sales reps, Ray, who went away and used the software. He was sitting around an 18% close rate, and after every single one of his calls, he would jump in, look at the feedback given. I think he didn't even apply much of the training, but he went and applied that feedback straight away onto his calls, and his close rate's been consistently growing ever since, and he uses the tool every single day within his flow. So it's not taking time away from prospecting, but it's actually adding to the fact that hey, by using this tool, I know my time can be spent more efficiently, and I'm actually seeing a tangible increase in results because of it.
Ray's story sounds encouraging, especially jumping from 18% without even doing much of the practice, just the feedback. But honestly, that's one guy. What if it doesn't click the same for me? I've got this pressure to hit targets now, and dropping $99 feels like a gamble if it doesn't deliver fast results.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the pressure, Holly, but do you mind if we kind of look at the other end of the spectrum here? What happens if nothing changes and you do continue to go down the current route you're going with your practice sessions and the level of feedback you're getting?
Oh, if nothing changes, I'll just keep missing targets. Getting that nagging feedback from my manager and watching colleagues pull ahead feels like I'm stuck in this rut, risking my shot at leading the team. But that's scary to think about. It makes me even more hesitant to throw money at something that might not fix it.
Okay, but by staying on the same path right now, you're going to have the same results, and you know the outcome is not hitting your target. At least by investing in a tool like this, you're getting actionable feedback every single day on every single one of your sales calls, right? So you know that the feedback you can apply on your very next call and make sure you are improving. And just like a professional athlete, if we said, they all have coaches. Right now, you're coachless, which isn't a strong position to be in. And really, Holly, I just want to make sure that you do have a clear plan of action to improving that close rate, whether you work with us or not.
I get the athlete thing again. It drives home how I'm out there without real guidance. And yeah, the daily feedback could be the game changer to apply fixes right away. But what if I start using it and the insights aren't as spot on for my high ticket deals? I've been burned by tools that sound great but miss the mark on real scenarios.
You know, Holly, we already mentioned the kind of difference between the tools you used and the way we approach things. We actually analyze every single one of your calls and we learn from them as you go. So our approach is very different to the tools you've worked on. It's like comparing a $5 gym membership to a country club membership, right? They're very different products and they have very different price points, but there is a reason for that, right? And on that notion, Holly, like, do you go to the gym? Do you pay for a gym membership right now?
Yeah, the country club analogy lands. I've tried those cheap gym setups that barely have equipment versus paying for a real one with trainers. And yes, I do have a gym membership, about $50 a month for a decent spot with classes, but how does that tie back to making sure your tool nails my specific high-ticket scenarios?
Well, the way a lot of our clients actually look at Rep Arena is like a gym membership, but for your sales skills. So instead of working on your six-pack or your bikini body, you're actually working on refining those sales skills that actually directly reflects into higher income because of the increase in close rate. So for you, it's like spending that $50 a month on a gym membership has no ROI in a monetary sense, but spending $100 a month or $99 a month with us, you're actually going to see the ROI from simply just closing one extra deal a month.
Okay, that gym comparison actually makes sense. I'm putting in the work at the gym for health, but here it's directly tied to my paycheck, which is way more motivating. Closing just one extra high-ticket deal would cover it easy, but deep down I'm still worried about the ROI if it doesn't pan out. I've got this fear of wasting budget on something that doesn't deliver the results to keep me competitive.
Okay, and just circling back on this, Holly, like, what's the alternative for you in terms of making sure that you are actually getting the results you want?
The alternative. Probably just grinding through more of the same, role-playing with my team when we can squeeze it in, or hunting for free webinars that barely scratch the surface. But that's not cutting it, and honestly, it leaves me feeling like I'm not progressing fast enough to stay ahead.
Okay, well then, look, and Holly, like, I'm not here to twist your arm, but the answer's obvious for me, right? It's like, you're an athlete without a coach, you're not getting the proper training you need, and you're not getting analysis on every single one of your calls. If we were to give you that analysis, and you were to be able to review every single call, I know for a fact you get better. And whilst I appreciate that trusting us to deliver those results for you might be scary, and spending money and joining a new gym is always a bit daunting, but if you want to get the results and you want to be top of your industry, that's going to require you to continue to invest in training. And I know what we have here would be incredibly beneficial to you, Holly. All I'm asking is for you to commit to just 1 month, and if you don't like it, leave us. But I can't see that happening, because you'll see an increase in your close rate and you'll continue to work with us long into the future.
I hear you on the commitment. Starting with 1 month to test it out does lower the risk a bit. And yeah, I know I can't keep doing the same ineffective stuff forever, but committing even that feels like a leap when I've got this nagging doubt about whether it'll truly deliver the ROI to justify tying up my budget, especially if it doesn't click right away for my deals.
Okay, so Holly, does this really come down to the finances, or is there something else at play here? Because I feel like there's a lack of confidence and conviction in your own ability to make sure that you are going to get the results that you actually want.
First off, it's Holly, not Ollie. And yeah, finances are part of it, but honestly, this is hitting on my confidence. I'm doubting if I can even make this tool work for me to get those quick results, especially after past failures. Feels like if it doesn't pay off fast, I'm just setting myself up for more frustration.
Yeah, of course, Holly. And we want to avoid that actually happening. And I truly believe that, look, if you were to have the proper guidance and you were to get feedback on every single one of your calls, and you weren't just reliant on the same sporadic feedback that you're getting, which is not generating the results for you, do you feel like you'd actually be able to increase your sales skills, and in turn, your close rate.
Yeah, with consistent, spot-on feedback after every call, I do think I could sharpen my skills and push that close rate up. It's what I've been missing with the hit or miss stuff I have now, but that doubt's still there. What if the tool's feedback doesn't align perfectly with my high-ticket style and I end up wasting time tweaking without real gains?
Well, we know that it would align perfectly because all it is doing is looking at your calls and seeing where you actually went wrong.
Looking at my actual calls sounds promising, but what if it flags stuff that's not really the issue for my high-ticket prospects? I've had feedback before that missed the context, and it threw me off more than helped.
Yeah, and I totally get that, Holly, but look, let me ask you something. You know you have this gym membership. Like, has there ever been a time where you've gone to the gym and you haven't actually felt better for it?
No, actually, every time I go, I feel better, stronger, less stressed. But tying that back, I'm still hung up on whether your tool will truly grasp the high-ticket nuances without me wasting sessions on irrelevant advice.
Okay, well, this is the exact same. Like, we are building you a gym, a training ground, in which it learns from the exact offer you sell and giving you actionable insights into every single call. So you worry about wasting time on using a tool that isn't effective. I can show you, and I have showed you, that the tool is incredibly effective in learning your specific offer, knowing your specific prospect types, and giving you the best feedback possible for every single one of those calls. So this is going to be a situation where you're going to the gym. You're not going to come out of the gym more confused or weaker. If anything, you're going to come out stronger and with more confidence. Because ultimately, Holly, this comes down to confidence. Better practice leads to more confidence, which leads to more conviction on closing deals.
Alright, the gym build-up with it learning my exact offer and prospects does ease some of that worry. Sounds like it could actually make me stronger without the confusion. And yeah, building that confidence through better practice is what I need to close more convincingly. But ultimately, I'm scared it won't deliver the ROI I need to hit my targets and stay competitive, especially after pouring money into things that fell flat before.
Yeah, and I appreciate the concern, Holly, but you do realize that, you know, the previous tools you've used and the previous sales seminars you've gone to and the previous softwares that haven't given you actionable insights are incredibly different to everything we've talked about these last 24 minutes.
Yeah, I do get that what you've described is a step up from those past tools and seminars that just gave me fluff without real insights. We've covered a lot here, and it does feel different, so to move forward, I'd like to commit to that 1-month trial you mentioned. Let's get me set up and see the impact on my close rate.
Yeah, perfect, Holly. And I strongly believe that you are going to be a long-term customer of ours. So let me go ahead and send you the payment link. Let me know once that's settled, and I can onboard you right on this call.
It's Holly, but okay. Send over the payment link, and I'll settle it now to get started on the onboarding.